attractive album cover, isn't it? Looks pretty good, I think. Yep, sure does. This is, as usual, a little thing that I like to wave around in front of the camera while I check the monitors and look at the feeds and ensure that indeed I am going out live. A little thing I like to wave the feeds and ensure that I better kill the speaker. I know you guys saw me peering around the edge of the prop, so I might as well just drop the prop and get ready to cop the top here on this week's episode of Tent Talks Tunes. Yes, we're here, kids. We're back. We're bad. We're nationwide. And I am doing my, usual last-minute adjustments and making sure that I am, going live and framed correctly and all that. See, the framing here is a little bit off. Let's see if we can just kind of adjust this camera a slight tiny bit so you guys can see all the really exciting information. Oh, yeah, look at that. I'm way off. All the exciting information that I have on the bulletin board behind me. I swear I can never actually figure out which way to turn this first Schluggener thing. This is really exciting, guys. And there's, as always, there's like a 1 or 2 second delay between what I'm doing with the camera and what's actually going out on the Facebook. You guys don't want to see the contents of my mail shelf, I'm pretty sure. No one wants to look at a bunch of old boxes and mailers and stuff like that. So I'm going to keep turning this thing over. Pretty cool, isn't it? This is live. All you people watching on YouTube, on the permanently archived version of Tent Talks Tunes, are going to wonder just what on earth is going on here. It's the reality of live television, guys. As I've said so many times, we're keeping in the spirit of cable TV, and that means a lot and a lot and a lot of very bizarre, very weird, very funny adjustments, camera angles, technical difficulties, anger, madness, frustration, irritation, agitation, and some prognostication, and I need a drink of water. So here we go. Delicious hickory tap. I have a showbiz confession, everybody. Even though I do live in Newton, North Carolina now, hickory tap sounds better than Newton tap. As a phrase, you know what I mean? Hickory is a funnier word than Newton. And Newton has the same relationship to hickory as my old home of Newtown had to Danbury. Basically, Newtown was an exoburb of Danbury. And I spent all of my formative years in Connecticut, and I had my business in Danbury in Connecticut. Everything I did in Connecticut for the 38 years I was there was really based in Danbury. It's where the record store was, it's where the bands were based out of, all that stuff. So it's just a lot easier to say Danbury than Newtown. Now we have kind of the same, what's the word I'm looking for? Demographic, dialogue, dialectic, the same dichotomy going here in the relationship between Newton and Hickory. Hickory is the next big town over, and I spend a lot of time in Hickory, and it's also a funnier word than Newton. So when you hear me referring to hickory tap, you now know what I'm talking about. It's showbiz, guys, showbiz. So thanks for tuning into my show and allowing me to do my biz. We see that Alan Versipellis, as always, is the first one in the house. Alan, you're far more punctual than I am. Thank you for being here. Mike Lesser from Vancouver, BC. My old pal Mike from the Florida punk rock days. Florida was the host to many, many, many great punk rock bands and hardcore bands. Mike was the singer for Gay Cowboys in Bondage, who I found to be very inspiring and who really gave me the nudge to push myself into a harder, further, faster, more proficient direction musically. Oh, yes. Scott LaRock. Hello, Scott. My compatriot, my compadre, Walt Wheat, the guitar player for Antiseen, is in the house right now, all the way from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Walt also the visionary guiding light behind Before I Hang. Hattiesburg's not finest, but definitely coarsest band. And Walt has been with Antiseen for almost, how long? Almost 3 years now, I think, right? Coming up on 3 years, Walt has been the guitar slinger for Antiseen, and he has definitely plugged the socket into a higher voltage that we draw from now. And it's really, really inspiring to have Walt on board in the band. The ideas have just been flowing left, right, and center. Walt says 3 years in May. Happy early anniversary, Walt. The ideas have just been flipping and flopping and flying all over the place. Whenever the 4 members of Antiseen get together, it's like bigger, badder, and more dangerous than a think tank meeting at the Rand Corporation or some similar place. We just sit there and fire off each other and bounce the ideas all over the place until something happens. And these days we've been brainstorming a lot about a project which goes all the way back to the Mad Brother Ward era of the band. Mad Brother Ward being the previous guitar player to Walt Wheat, who was a source of inspiration and creativity in his own right. Russ, a.k.a. Mad Brother, brought a lot to the table while he was in the band, and one of the ideas that started to germinate while he was in the band was a thing called Raw Meat. An EP called Raw Meat, featuring Antiseen as the core band, with special guests Tesco V of the Meatmen. And I never remember the dude's name, but the guitar player from the Pagans, you know, all-time classic Cleveland punk rock band. Sorry, I can't remember the name, but yeah. And there have been rumors and rumblings of participation by other people, which, you know, until we get some kind of confirmation, I'm not going to name any names or reveal any secrets, but Raw Meat has been in the incubation chamber for a long time, and we have recently started picking up that ball and running with it some more. Here we go. Bill D. Oh boy, Gideo, as in giddy up. We'll just say Bill from the Pagans. And Bill is one of those guys who never stopped playing. He never stopped rocking. We shared the stage with his new band back in, I think, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago in New Orleans. And once again, I cannot remember the name of the band. Walt, Erica, help me. What is Bill from the Pagans' new band? They totally rocked. They kicked butt. Their songs were great. His chops were intact. They even played a couple of songs from the Pagans and burned the house down. They didn't even need to play the songs by the Pagans. They're originals. The Guillotines. Thank you, Erica. The Guillotines. Guillotines rock. If you want to know about a band that's treading the boards right now, who totally get the job done and take no prisoners, the Guillotines. So, we're very excited to have Bill Pagan from the Guillotines and formerly of the Pagans on board for Raw Meat, along with Tesco V, and maybe a couple of other super duper bodacious special guest stars. My oldest, bestest pal in the entire universe, Jill E. from Florida, is in the house right now. I want everybody to send a wave, a thumbs up, a power salute, a heart to my old pal Jill. I have known her since she was in 9th grade and I was a senior in high school. And, you know, back in them days, that was a heck of an age gap. Nowadays, we're the same age. But back then, for a senior to be hanging out with a freshman, oh boy, that was crossing some lines. That was breaking down some barriers. That was borderline taboo. But we have since outgrown that, and we're still pals. Sometimes BFF does mean best friends forever. And so Jill just said, It's All Meat. Do we remember It's All Meat? Of course we remember It's All Meat from Florida. Circa 1986, maybe even 85. Broken Talent Auxiliary Corps alum, Let's see, who was in It's All Meat? Marky Awesome was in It's All Meat. I'm pretty sure that Des Spellbound, a.k.a. the son of Mrs. Wilson, was in It's All Meat. Who else was in It's All Meat? I don't know if Lloyd Void was in It's All Meat. I don't know if Bill Orcutt was in It's All Meat. Tim Powell was in It's All Meat. Tim was a musical mentor of mine. So yeah, It's All Meat. I will never forget It's All Meat. It's All Meat were great. And I'm extremely happy to have a couple of It's All Meat tracks released on my fabulous label, TPOS. Note what a smooth, slick segue that was. Wasn't planned at all. We are improvising right here on Tent Talks Tunes. And that's another fine, fun factoid about Tent Talks Tunes. It's completely improvised. I don't have a script. I have a basic outline of what I'm going to talk about. And then I hit the record button and the play button and the send button, and we just go for it. For better or for worse. Anyway, TPOS, my label, which can be found on Bandcamp, Discogs, eBay, and other fine internet locations near you. Yes, you can dig the awesome compilation cassette entitled Florida versus the Rest of the World, which features some really hot, wild, wiggy, wacky left field tracks from It's All Meat. Jilski, you asked, I gave you the answer. Look, Grant Den, the original guitar player for Broken Talent, is in the house. This is exciting. Jill E. was technically the first bass player for Broken Talent. So we've got the current guitar player for Antiseen. We got 2 Broken Talent alum. We got Milo, a.k.a. Michael from the Gay Cowboys in Bondage. We are just having an old folks party here. We're all feeling kind of spry. Yes! I will drink some of that good hickory tap to being spry. And I see the comments coming in thick. We got Kyle on board. Hello, Kyle. We got Robbie Everett. We got Ronald Webb from Connecticut. A fine purveyor of vinyl himself. Hey, Ronald Webb, do you have a link to your record store you want to post and share with the people? Because people who are in Monroe, Connecticut need to walk in and check out your record shop. Just saying. Derek Giles is here. Hebe LaFleur. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Robert Everett, a.k.a. Suave Rave, is a fellow who just contributed a track to a very long-running, ongoing, never-ending project on TPOS. This project has undergone so many mutations, permutations, remutations, amputations, computations. Soon, it will be completed. And I've been saying that for the last 5 years, that soon it will be completed. And you might want to know what I'm talking about. I might want to know what I'm talking about. Luckily, I do know what I'm talking about. Doesn't always seem like that, but I do know what I'm talking about. Three Stooges facial gestures here. What I'm talking about is a project that began during the dark, dank, dingy days of COVID. COVID-19. Dark. But it was a great time for getting things done because we were all kind of sitting around twiddling our thumbs. And I'm not very good at sitting around twiddling my thumbs. I need to be doing something. So using the power of the internet, and I've been known to admit every once in a while, begrudgingly, not happily, begrudgingly, I will admit occasionally that the internet is good for a couple of things. It is good for a couple of things. It's very good for reaching out to people who would be very difficult to reach out to under normal circumstances. Back in the pre-internet days, you might find someone's mailing address and send them a letter saying, hey, would you like to contribute to my project? And if you ever got a response, it would take a long time. And he'd be sending cassettes through the mail and stuff like that. And it was just like a really long-going, laborious process. Things did get done, but they took an awful lot longer. Anyway, I used this internet thing, this newfangled modern internet thing, to reach out to a whole slew of people. And this is where it might get divisive, guys. So sit down, put on your safety belt, get your crash helmet on, take a deep breath, relax, take in the full measure of the Tent Talks Tunes spirit as I wax enthusiastically about this project that's been 5 years in the making. I reached out to a whole army of alumni who used to work with GG Allin. I can almost see the reactions happening right now. Some good, some bad, some love, some hate. But you got to admit, the dude's name, even though he's been dead for 32 years, always gets a reaction. Anyway, I reached out to many, many people who knew him, worked with him, played music with him, were creative with him in some way, and asked if they would contribute either a guitar part or a drum part or some kind of instrumental part if they were an instrumentalist, or if they would read a piece of unpublished, basically unknown GG Allin poetry. And I would wed the two together and make a whole bunch of tracks that would segue into each other and make this giant soundscape, a sound collage, if you will. And I have just been so chuffed about the number of people who agreed to participate and have been very enthusiastic about it and have stuck with me this whole time, even though it's taken forever to get the darn thing done. The problem is, the big problem, is that every time I think I've reached out to everybody there is to reach out to, and that I've gotten contributions from everybody that there is who's willing to contribute, someone else pops up. Or I'll remember somebody, or I'll reestablish contact with somebody. And I have two just this very week. I went to Spookies down in Gastonia, North Carolina, run by the aforementioned Robert Everett, a.k.a. Suave Rave of the Carolina Shit Kickers, who were GG's backing band on the very last recording session he ever did. Finally reestablished contact with Suave after many, many years, and he read a piece for this project. And then just a couple of days ago, I established contact with Steve S., Steve S., one of the original members of the Jabbers, GG's first ever band. And I know, maybe not like original, but he was in the Jabbers. And that was GG's first real honest-to-gosh punk rock band. And Steve S. just messaged me seconds ago while I was here talking to you people that he has recorded a guitar part for this project. Whew, so I thought it was done. But guess what? It ain't done. I now have another piece read by another GG Allin associate, and I have another guitar part from another GG Allin associate. It really just, this thing just keeps growing, you know, and it's great because when I finally do have everything complete and I get it out, I want it to be the best project, the best music, the best, I don't like to say product. Product is a very crass word. I want it to be the best thing it can possibly be, with participation from everybody who knew, worked with, played with, was associated with GG Allin. Because whether anybody likes him or not, loves him or not, there's no denying that he was a musician, he was an artist, and his music and his art are valid. And I always go back to the words of Bruce Springsteen, who I don't like in the slightest bit, But I give credit where it's due. Bruce Springsteen said, trust the art, not the artist. It's either your thing or it isn't. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. And you certainly don't have to listen to it. Walt Wheat wants to know if Dino contributed. Yes, Dino, the wonderful, much beloved Dino Sex did contribute. You know, I'll tell you guys who contributed. I don't know if I'll be able to remember everybody, but here is who I got on board for this project, which has undergone many name changes, and right now is going to be called, I think, Portrait of the Outlaw as an Artist. Subtitled something like The Writings of GG Allin or whatever. Who's on board? Dino Sex, P.P. Duvet, myself, Jeff Clayton, Mad Brother Ward, Bill Weber, Rob Basso, Steve S., Angel Lee, Mark Robinson, Mark Rentzer. Let's see, that's 11. And there's more. Believe me, my brothers and sisters, there's more. Oh, Charlie Infection and Johnny X from Bulge are on board. These are people who have all recorded parts for me, and I have their stuff in the can. This has happened. It is happening. It is done. These have all contributed. Let's see, that's 13. Paul Ledney from the Bloody Apostles, that's 14. I know there's more. Definitely more. Can't remember the rest of them. But 14, you know, it's not bad for one clip just off the top of me head. There's also a pretty fair number of people who either are no longer with us or who declined to participate or whatever. Mazel tov to all of you. Everybody who I reached out to was enthusiastic about the project and, you know, polite and engaging, even if they didn't want to be in it. So it's been a really rewarding and fun experience putting this thing together and meeting all these people. And when the Verschluggeder thing is finally out, I think you guys are going to like it. All right. Gee whiz, I've been here for almost half an hour, and we're just yapping right along. This is great fun. Everybody watching on my YouTube channel, as much amusement as you might be getting from catching this on the rerun, I got to tell you guys, Wednesdays, 7 p.m., live with my compatriots. It's a blast. Let's see, what else are we going to talk about here? Well, first, let's get into the bulletin board. We've talked about all kinds of current doings. Let's talk about a couple of things that are happening in the future. A lot of us have great interest in the future because the future is where our great interest lies. What's happening in the future? Well, I don't know. I really have no idea, but I'm going to make some predictions. The signs look good, and the pieces are in place for the following events to take place. I ran out of poster text, so I was not able to affix this flyer onto the bulletin board. I do hope to have that situation corrected by this time next week. But check it out, Clayton and Wenzel. Yes, are making their live performance debut April 26th at a store in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina called the Kingdom Corner. I haven't been to the Kingdom Corner yet, but from everything they've posted about the stuff they sell, indicates to me that if I walk in there, I'm going to be in some serious trouble. Like deep Dutch, kids, because they got a lot of cool stuff there. A lot of cool stuff. And I have a certain weakness, a real weakness, a weakness in my heart, a weakness in my head, a weakness in my general constitution for stuff, things. I do like things. I like cool things. I like things that are neat. Want an example? I got an example right here at arm's reach. This is a little piece of decoration I have on my desk. How about this? Vintage advertisement for the Scotch blank tape Dynarange t-shirt. Now, to some people, that's just a piece of garbage. To some people, that's a recyclable piece of paper. To me, that's a piece of art. Piece of art. I love this kind of stuff. I love these little tchotchkes and things. Here's another one. Check this out. Sitting on my desk as a piece of decoration. Anybody remember this? The You Seal It laminating squares that you used to get in the vending machine. I remember the Treasury Department Store had one of these vending machines. 25 cents would get you 2 sheets of You Seal It laminating plastic. Grant's Department Store had You Seal It machines. Gosh. Grants in the Treasury for sure, but you would see these things all over the place. The post office, actually, the U.S. Post Office used to have these vending machines in the lobby. 25 cents for 2 sheets of laminating plastic. And this one still has, whoa, check it out. This one has 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 sheets of laminating plastic with the official You Seal It logo on the back. To me, this is art. This really brings back fond memories of stuffing quarters into the You Seal It vending machine at the U.S. Post Office in Hialeah, Florida, to make my very first ever fake ID. So I could go see Black Flag when they played at Finder's Lounge in Hollandale, Florida. And Jill about my safety going to the Black Flag show, and she made me promise her that I would call her when I got home safe and sound. And we got back from that gig very late, and I was kind of nervous giving her a call, because you got to remember, this was the days of hardwired landline communications. If you picked up the phone and called somebody, the phone would ring. A very loud bell would ring inside the house, waking up everybody in the house, theoretically. So, to pick up the phone and make a call at 2 in the morning, you'd wake people up and disturb them. But she made me promise. So I got home, reeking of cigarette smoke and stale beer. I gave her a call on the phone. She picked right up. She was waiting up for me to make sure that I'd gotten home safely. I said, I got home safely. What a show. Oh my God. She said, okay, good night. And that was it. But yes, the You Seal It fake ID, Black Flag, first punk rock show ever made possible because of this stuff. So I have a little display right here on my desk where I can look at it anytime I want. So yeah, Kingdom Corner is full of stuff just like that. And Clayton and Wenzel with myself on acoustic rhythm guitar. So you're probably wondering when I was going to get back around to the point, weren't ya? I was kind of wondering myself. Clayton and Wenzel playing some of that good old-time gospel music. Yes, 9 songs worth from their brand new album, Songs from Home. They're all going to be played live. I'm playing acoustic guitar, Kingdom Corner, April 26th at noon. Now, you people want to see a rare occurrence. Come to Kingdom Corner on April 26th, and you will see me awake at noon. That is no mean feat. That is no small accomplishment. That is not just playing golf, kids. They're going to get me out of bed and on stage at noon. Yes, Walt Wheat knows me well. He says, not at the crack of noon. I know. Walt has seen me awake at 11 a.m. a bunch of times, even earlier than 11 a.m. He knows it ain't a pretty sight. Ain't a pretty sound. Ain't a pretty feeling. Ain't nothing pretty about seeing Malcolm Tent that early in the morning. I keep the hours of a vampire. I don't like to wake up before 2 p.m. Why? Because I work all night. I'm a night worker. I toil endlessly burning the midnight oil. That's how I roll. Those are my rock and roll hours. I'm packing and shipping and listing and editing and splicing and dicing all night long. I like to turn in around 4 a.m. and I like to get a good, long, solid night of sleep, which means rarely waking up before noon. But you know what? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. When the rock and roll calls, the music, whatever you want to call it, when the muse summons, I answer. And so that means Mount Pleasant, April 26th, Kingdom Corner, you will see me sitting in a chair with the starvation box on my lap and me strumming the chords. It's going to be cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. Now, if you want to see me at a more reasonable hour, in a somewhat louder, more aggressive setting, well, you are in luck. You are in all kinds of luck. Because we have a couple of occasions coming up. If there is such a thing as the foreseeable future, that's when this is happening. You ready? Check it out. Don't know if you guys can see these, but I'll read it to you if you can't. April 17th, 2025, at the West Side Bowl in Youngstown, Ohio. Hey, look, it's us, Antiseen, making our return to Youngstown at the West Side Bowl, an awesome venue. It's a full-fledged functioning bowling alley. People bowl while the bands play. They got a record store. They had food I could eat. Super helpful staff. I loved playing there. I'm looking forward to playing there again. Our pals Pill Time are on the bill. Pill Time is a project of the great Poopy Necropond. Poopy from the band Sockeye. And about, 8,000 or 9,000 other bands, approximately. Got a band called Pill Time. I've never seen a band that Poopy Necropond was in that did not completely rock. So I have a sneaking suspicion that that's going to be a real good doubleheader. Real good doubleheader. April 18th, no show. Travel day. April 19th, all right, all you people out there in Philadelphia or the environs of Philadelphia, we are playing in Medford, New Jersey. Now, it says New Jersey. Sure, it's New Jersey, but that's very South Jersey, and Medford is about half a hop, a quarter of a skip, and not even a full jump from Philadelphia. You would consider it to be an exoburb of Philadelphia. So, whether you're in Medford, New Jersey, or Somers Point, or Leeds Point, or Philadelphia itself, you need to come out to Medford, to the, what's the actual venue? Don't know the name of the venue, but it's on Main Street in Medford, New Jersey. If you're in Philadelphia, Somers Point, Leeds Point, Medford, anywhere around there, come on down. April 19th, Antiseen are the only band on the bill. And rumor has it that we're going to be playing a mega set. A mega set. Not only our regular earth-shattering, ozone layer depleting, life-affirming, karma-changing set of rock and roll, like we always do. We're playing some bonus tunes. Yes, we're playing some bonus tunes. It's going to be an extra long one in Medford, which for all intents and purposes is Philly. I'm telling you people now, you can get service via Amtrak, Philadelphia International Airport, car, Greyhound bus. It's a long walk. It's a fairly long bicycle ride, but you can get there. You can get there. Yes, you can get there. The 19th in Medford, New Jersey. The 17th in Youngstown, Ohio. Oh, yes. Nick Stone said that I forgot Black Hole Destroying. Well, somebody posted on Destructo Central earlier today that if you make a sound louder than 1100 decibels, you will create a black hole and destroy the entire universe. So we're working on it. We're on it. 1100 decibels shouldn't be a problem. A much quieter pursuit is happening on May 17th in Danbury, Connecticut. Yes, Danbury, Connecticut. I'll be returning back to my adopted home of Danbury for the Danbury Record and CD Expo, the record show that I have been co-promoting since 1997. An entire room full of record dealers, myself included. May 17th. If you like to buy records, tapes, CDs, videos, memorabilia, all that kind of stuff, come to Danbury. Even if by some strange, bizarre happenstance I can't hook you up, one of the many other dealers in the room will be able to hook you up. That's all I got to say on the matter. That's the bulletin board. Right on. Not a whole lot of mail to check on, so we're not going to check the mailbox, but we will get right down to brass tacks and talk tunes. There's been some interesting stuff coming across my desk lately. And I, as usual, when interesting things come across my desk, want to share it with you guys. Imagine my shock and awe last Friday as I was running through the streets of Newton, because I am a runner. I like to take my run every single day. I like to jog, between 1.5 miles and 2 miles every day. And lots of great streets to run on around here. I was running down the street, getting my cardio going, getting my breathing going, surveying the landscape, and I hit the brakes immediately. The rubber on my sneakers burned the pavement and sent smoke in the air when I stopped abruptly because I saw a yard sale. Oh boy, I saw a yard sale. And well, I might have mentioned before that I simply don't have the ability to drive past a thrift shop. And I certainly don't have the ability to run past a yard sale. I mean, I really don't like to do without my run every day, but it was a yard sale, so I had to stop. Turns out that the guy and the gal running the yard sale were Antiseen fans. Wouldn't you know it? Royce and Karen, if you're watching, hello. We ended up having a good old time, hanging out, chitting and chatting and yipping and yapping. And they had some really cool stuff. There we get back with stuff again. And I bought a big pile of stuff. But I'm only going to show and tell some of the records I got. Well, just a few of them. And I don't know what these are. And this is the beauty of it. I really have no idea what these discs are, but they looked interesting. And that's what I always do. If I see a record and it's cheap enough and it looks interesting enough, I'll buy it. And I've been rewarded many times by hearing some incredible sounds I never would have discovered otherwise. Of course, I've also bombed out a number of times hearing some real garbage. But you know what? If the record's cheap enough, and if in some cases it's in bad enough condition, I will see how high it can fly through the sky. I have no compunctions with jettisoning bad records from my life. Not enough space, not enough time for bad records. So these are some real challenges. I don't know what these are. Here's a label. It's called Rice Records. It's on the Rice label. It's a guy named David Price. The A side is I Need a Friend, and the B side is The World Lost a Man. Those are really intriguing song titles. Very intriguing song titles on a label I've never heard of by an artist I've never heard of. And the catalog number is 1001, which indicates it was the first release ever on this label and quite possibly the only one. There is some fine print as to where it was from. Nashville, Tennessee. Interesting. My guess And I'm telling you guys right now, I haven't looked this up. I have no idea if it's even on Discogs or not. My guess, judging by the title, The World Has Lost a Man, I'm going to guess this is a JFK tribute record. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So I'm hoping corny, schmaltzy, JFK tribute record. I'll let you guys know. But it's interesting. It's very interesting. Nick Stone says now we know why he has a half-acre yard for record chucking. Man, it's great. Have you ever thrown a record out the window of a fast-moving car backwards? You'd be shocked at how high they go in the air. It's breathtaking. And here's another one. This one's got to be good. This one's just got to be good. L.C. Smith and Honeymoon on a Rocket Ship. How can this possibly be bad? A label called Wango, a dude named L.C. Smith and the Southern Playboys, and a song title, Honeymoon on a Rocket Ship. I predict win-win-win on this one. And the B-side, also very promising title, Radio Boogie. I think that L.C. Smith and his Southern Playboys would have to work really hard to make a lousy record with song titles like that. I hope that they lived up to the responsibility of making a kick-ass unknown record. Same deal as before with David Price. I haven't looked it up. I know nothing about it. It just looks really promising. Got another one at that yard sale. This one, I can probably guess exactly what this one's all about. This is Jeannie Mac. Jeannie Mac on Magic Country Music. What will we do when the trucks are gone? What will we do when the trucks are gone? Most likely an energy crisis protest record. That's my guess. Dating from 1972-73. And it's autographed as well. Autographed by the great or otherwise Jeannie Mac. It's probably not very good. But look at that B-side, CB Smokey. No doubt from the CB craze of around the same time, 73, 74. I'm sure it's pure corn. But I'm a vegan. I've eaten my share of corn. This record could be straight off the cob. I'll let you guys know. And then the one that really floated my boat and made me super duper happy to find. Hickory. Not Newton, Hickory. I saw this in a crate full of legitimately lousy records. Records that, beyond any question, beyond any doubt, were this record is also lousy. It's also cruddy. But lousy and cruddy in all the right ways. Yes, you guys guessed it. Yet another in the almost endless supply of sleazy, cheesy, make a fast buck, cash-in records from the early 60s. And in case you were wondering, this one's about, hey, it's about dragging and surfing. And you can see, even with the extremely beat-up album cover, that there is a drag racer and there is a surfboard. And there's a little bit of cheesecake on there. You can see the guy with the drag racer is very interested in the chick with the surfboard. And, yep, this record is going to be terrible. I love it. It's on the Modern Sound label. Modern Sound had, who even knows how many of these albums, in which they would hire a room full of completely faceless, generic, minimum wage musicians and have them crank out an album a day based on whatever the hottest, latest musical fad was. You know, they didn't know anything about drag race music or surf music. Didn't matter. They could pick up an instrument and play it to some degree. They could more or less copy the sounds off of whatever the latest hit record was at the time. And they could do it fast, and they could do it cheap, And they wouldn't complain if the record company put out the record with all the mistakes and all the bum notes and all the bad tuning. All the things that make a lousy record wonderful. So I haven't heard this one yet. I am so looking forward to it. And there is one thing about the track listing on this record that really made me take a step back. You look at it, it's got the usual surf and drag stuff. It's got Hey Little Cobra, Fun, 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 Dead Man's Curve, Surfer Girl, Wipeout, Surf City, Little Old Lady from Pasadena. It's got a couple of generic songs, you know, one called Drag City. We already had Surf City, so here's Drag City, and one called The Whole Summer Through. But it's also got, if you can read that one right there, the last song on side 2, I've got a tiger in my tank. That, my friends, is Lou Reed's first ever major label songwriting credit. I've got a tiger in my tank. Co-written by Terry Phillips. And it was done not by the Primitives, but by, once again, I'm forgetting the details, but one of the many, many, many spin-off groups that Lou Reed was a part of while he worked as a songwriter for Pickwick Records. And that song originally appeared on an album just like this one, a sleazy, cheesy, exploito cash-in record. But then somewhere later, Terry Phillips actually got a licensing deal with Epic Records, which was a subsidiary of Columbia Records, Columbia CBS. And the name of the band was The Intimates. So Terry Phillips put together this band called The Intimates with Lou Reed on guitar and backing vocals and whoever else was, you know, accessible at the moment. And they actually released a version of that song on Epic. And so I got to give these guys credit. They actually did some deep digging to find that one, because the record, the original by The Intimates, probably sold about, I don't know, 15, 20 copies. Got zero airplay, just sort of came and went. But these cheeso, exploito sleazeballs were somehow aware of that song and cut a version of it. So I can't wait to hear this cheesy, exploitive, cash-in version of a sleazy, exploitive, cash-in song. You're going through 2 filters of awesome wretchedness here. Man, that's got to be good. So this was the best dollar I spent all day. It might be the worst dollar I spent all day, but you know what I mean, Jelly Bean. My ears are going to be pleasantly tortured when I play this one a little bit later. It's kind of a sadomasochistic relationship I have with these records, except I'm the masochist. Although maybe just by talking about these things at such length, I'm a sadist. I don't know. Here's another one. Another thrift shop, tag sale, dollar bin filler that I've talked about an awful lot here on 10 Talks Tunes. Yes, you guys have heard me give some real airtime to this one right here. This one should need no introduction. This one should need no explanation. Yes, it's Whipped Cream and Other Delights. Yep. One of approximately 300 copies of this album that I own. I'm not joking. I have several boxes stuffed with these albums. And there's a reason for that. There is a bona fide, legitimate reason that I have over 300 copies of Whipped Cream and Other Delights. But I'm not going to get into that tonight because I'm kind of running out of time here. I'm running out of time. But I just wanted to show you and share with you just how absurd the depth of one's interest can get with an album like Whipped Cream and Other Delights. Since I have 300 of these darn things, I can't help but notice that a lot of them have variations. They have differences, you know, different shades of green on the front cover, different alignments of the art on the back, There are label variations. There are, there's all kinds of minutia that can keep a record guy busy for an entire lifetime. Studying because it looked very particularly pleasing. Had a really nice deep shade of green on the front. It was in really good condition, and it's a mono copy. Mono copies of this record are considerably rarer than stereo copies. If this record sold 848 million copies in stereo, it probably sold about, I don't know, 100,000 in mono. I'm strictly ballparking. You really don't find mono copies of this record very often. And you especially don't find them in beautiful, pristine condition like this one. I don't know if you guys can see, but there's nary a scratch nor a scuff on this. So it's a delightful, get it, mono copy of Whipped Cream and Other Delights. Not only that, if you look very carefully at the matrix number in the run-out groove, which, especially now in the day of Discogs, one tends to do, and Discogs is kind of like the internet. It is good for something. You learn, even I, an old salty dog like myself here in the record biz, have learned that you can tell what the first pressing of a record is quite often by looking at the matrix number. Quite often they would number the pressing plates sequentially. And the easiest way to determine that is to look for the numbers 1A. Quite often, when mastering a record and making the stampers, they would number them 1A, 1B, 1C, and then go on to 2A, 2B, 2C, and so on. So if you have a 1A number in the run-out groove, you most likely have the very, very first pressing of a record. Now, when it's bands that people actually care about, such as the Beatles, a 1A can make a huge difference in the price. When you've got a record that basically nobody cares about, a 1A matrix probably amounts to about half a hill of beans. But I got to admit, it's kind of cool to think of the millions and millions and millions of these Verschlugener records that are out there that were kept in print all the way up until the 80s. The millions of them. This is amongst the very first. This is one of the very, very first ever unleashed on the marketplace. And it might be debatable, I'm not 100% sure, but typically the mono pressing of a record from this era was released first. So if you extrapolate that into practice, you would say that this is absolutely one of the very, 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 very first copies of Whipped Cream and Other Delights ever offered for sale in the world. This predated many, many, many millions of records. And it's in beautiful condition, too. So, of the 300 or so of these things I've got, this is like the most special. And I'll mention I've got import pressings and mispressings and, latter-day pressings, whatever. But to have one of the very, very first ones, that's kind of cool. It's the little things like that. That record's really not worth much of anything, but as a cultural artifact and as an object, it's pretty cool. So it's really good to have that. And I'm glad I got a chance to share it with you, my frantic fans, my loyal listeners, my vivacious viewers here on Tent Talks Tunes. And I teased it. My gal, Chrissy, said, why don't you ever talk about David Bowie? And I had every intention to talk about David Bowie today. These are all David Bowie records. I really thought that I was going to have the time to talk about all these David Bowie records today, but I'm not. I burned up my hour. My larynx is kind of sore and raspy. All this great hickory tap water is sitting here undrunk. I need to get to it. So there you go, guys. Another episode bites the dust. Tent Talks Tunes live from North Carolina. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I invite you, as always, to check out my Discogs, my eBay, and my Bandcamp. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget, my label is TPOS, and I got a lot of really exciting stuff on board. So Steve S., if you're watching right now, I'm going to check out your guitar track right now, so we can get TPOS number 224 a little bit further down the chute and towards an actual release date. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I have been and always will be Malcolm Tent, and I hope to meet you again in about 167 hours' time. So until such time as we meet again, I'm telling you right now, so long from the Tar Heel State.